Good evening, I'm Katerina Georgieva. This is CBC Windsor News. Thanks for being with us. We begin with a nail-biter of a local federal election race that only just came to its conclusion. CBC's Dawson Chen brings us the final results after a judicial recount.
The official recount in the federal riding of Windsor-Tecumseh Lakeshore is complete, and the victory of Conservative candidate Kathy Borelli has been upheld. The margin? Just 4 votes. The final tally between Borelli and Liberal candidate Eric Kuzmerchuk was 32,090 votes to 32,086 votes. Also in those results, 458 ballots were officially rejected. Kuzmerchuk served as the riding's MP for 2 terms. He requested the recount after he lost the election by a margin of 77 votes. On Friday, he posted on Facebook expressing his gratitude to his team and describing his time as MP as the honor of his life. Borelli did not respond to CBC's request for comment. It's her first time holding any elected office. With confirmation of her victory, all federal ridings on the tip of southwestern Ontario now have Conservative MPs. From Sarnia-Lambton-Bikeshwanong to Essex, it's solid Tory blue. Lydia Milgen, head of the University of Windsor's Political Science Department, believes the story of Windsor-Tecumseh Lakeshore this federal election should inspire public confidence in Canada's democratic processes.
You do have a third neutral party that takes a look at it. So I think, we do have a really robust system. We have a system where you're able to challenge the result, which was what Eric Kuzmerchuk did. You have a few tight races. Each were counted independently. Every single ballot was scrutinized. And so if you don't think that's a fair system, I then would challenge them to find one that's better.
The recounted margin makes the riding's result the second tightest in Canada's 2025 federal election. Only the Quebec riding of Terrebonne was closer, with a difference of only 1 vote. That riding flipped to the Liberals. The outcome of this local recount was also being watched nationally, as it could have pushed the Liberal Party closer to a majority. Canada's 45th Parliament is set to hold its first session on May 26. Dawson Chen, CBC News, Windsor.
Late May is the unofficial start of summer in Canada, but be careful if you have plans to light up a campfire in the city. The CBC's Chris Ensing outlines a new hefty hike to fines. Apologies, we were having a technical issue there, but we've got Colette Kennedy on standby to give us that first look at weather. How's it looking, Colette?
Yeah, I'm happy to step in. Well, a little bit better, right? I mean, encouraging this morning to have all that sunshine. I know the clouds filled back in, but that was a night. Blue sky was a nice sight. And really, we're still just on the outskirts of this system. So the really active weather and the steady rain is into eastern Ontario. And that's actually where the center of that very slow moving area of low pressure is situated. With some of those outer bands, it still gives us a chance for some isolated showers overnight tonight. We will have some cloud cover like we've got right now, but that will be kind of decreasing as we go through the overnight down to a low of 6 degrees. And then tomorrow, a little more sun this time we can count on in there, mixing with clouds at times. The breeze out of the northwest not too strong, and nice to get that temperature into the upper teens, Katerina.
Perfect, and we will check back in with you for more on that later in the program.
Sounds good.
Turning now to a heartwarming story. Usually after a paramedic has responded to an emergency, they don't always get to know what happened to that patient. But once a year at Windsor's Survivor Day celebration, Essex Windsor EMS and those they saved are reunited, like Jack Luck, a survivor of cardiac arrest.
To have a cardiac arrest at any age, it's, nothing fortunate to have. At the time I was 18, I have all my heart out for this woman here. She did everything she could that night, and it turned out positive for me. It was great.
He was young, active, healthy individual, so the fact that he did collapse and go into cardiac arrest was pretty unusual, so it did stand out. After a majority of our calls, we don't get a chance to see the outcome of what happens with our patients, so to have this opportunity has been really incredible. So to see Jack doing as well as he's doing and having the chance to speak with him and his family and hear what his journey has been over the past year, it's been really, really, really nice to hear.
The last thing in the world I thought this was a cardiac arrest. And if not for the paramedics being there, he would be with us today. We've since taken CPR training. I think I would be better prepared. The whole family did. Shout out to the EMS. They graciously donated a defibrillator to the home.
He's 20 years old now and amazing and nothing. We haven't seen any side effects, nothing. He's just the same humorous, funny kid.
Yeah, he's a good kid. He's a good kid. He's my hero. He really is.
In other news, the number of crime cases involving children and youth has gone up. That's according to the Windsor-Essex Child and Youth Advocacy Centre. The organization primarily helps young people impacted by abuse, and it's seen a significant jump in cases over the past couple of years. In the last fiscal year, the centre saw 233 new cases. That's up from 213 cases the previous fiscal year. The biggest increase in referrals was for children 5 years old and younger. From 2023 to 2024, it was 5% of their total referrals. But in the last year, that number jumped to 15%. Also, peer-on-peer crime increased sharply from 20% of their totals to 27%. The centre also raised concerns about growing threats in digital spaces, saying that online sexual exploitation of children has more than doubled. Canada Post is still delivering the mail after threatening to start a general strike. The union is considering an offer, but as Thomas Dagler reports, in the meantime, customers may still experience delays.
Yes, that letter or parcel is still on its way, at least for now, after a last-minute decision by the Canadian Union of Postal Workers to call off a full-blown strike, a move that threatened to disrupt all deliveries beginning today.
We want a fair collective agreement that is workable for the post office.
The union is now telling its 55,000 members to boycott any overtime, leading Canada Post to warn some deliveries may be arriving late.
Their volumes are down considerably. Everything's gone to the competition, or they're holding on to it. And the further we prolong this, the longer they're going to wait. Nobody wants to get burned again.
Many customers hold bitter memories of holiday parcels delivered only after Christmas, with that month-long strike last year leaving Canada Post in limbo, and now serving a double whammy to small business owners like Don McCowan at his hobby shop in Toronto.
We don't have the nest egg. We lost that in the last strike. So it's harder for us this time than it was, back then.
He says the uncertainty is leading to a drop in his online sales and profits. Both Canada Post and the union blame each other for not budging in brief talks on Thursday night, with weekend work one key sticking point, and Cup W staunchly opposing their employer's plan for a separate part-time workforce.
This has been a non-starter from the union from the beginning, and I'm just not sure how you get around that as we go forward.
The Postal Service handed the union a 750-page package of offers earlier this week, and that's still on the table. For now, the union will only say it's still reviewing those proposals. Thomas Dagler, CBC News, Toronto.
We turn now to the high-profile sexual assault trial out of London, Ontario. That's where we find Megan Fitzpatrick.
The trial of the 5 former World Junior hockey players accused of sexually assaulting a woman in London, Ontario, remains on a bumpy road at the end of this week. Arguments over text messages that the Crown is pushing to be included as evidence have now taken up several days. The trial got off track on Tuesday when Brett Howden began testifying and had trouble recalling certain details about the events in question. Howden testified by video link from Las Vegas, where he plays in the NHL. Howden is not accused of any wrongdoing. He was in the hotel room for a portion of the night where the alleged sexual assaults took place in June of 2018. Howden was called as a witness by the Crown, but his memory gaps have been a stumbling block for their case, especially when it comes to what he can remember about Dylan Dubé allegedly slapping the woman on her behind. Because he wasn't able to testify in the detail Crown lawyer Megan Cunningham was hoping, she's been trying to get the text messages he wrote to teammate Taylor Radish entered as evidence instead. They were written about a week after the events in question and include Howden saying that he's glad he left the hotel room when he did and that when he was leaving, Dylan Dubé was slapping the woman on her behind. These text messages are critical to the Crown's case. But their attempt to get the text messages accepted as evidence failed Friday morning following a ruling from Justice Maria Carosia. Cunningham isn't giving up. She filed yet another application and is trying one last avenue. Court heard arguments on this latest attempt today, and the judge will make a ruling Monday morning. Criminal lawyer Sam Puhala is not connected to the case, but is following it closely.
If it's ruled inadmissible, then certainly that's an extra hurdle for the Crown in terms of now that important evidence to them. They wouldn't be pursuing it if it wasn't so important to them. Then it will not be admissible evidence at trial.
Meanwhile, Howden did resume his testimony today briefly. He was questioned about things he said to investigators with both London Police and Hockey Canada. When he resumes his testimony on Monday, he'll be under cross-examination by the defense lawyers. Megan Fitzpatrick, CBC News, London, Ontario.
If you're feeling it's been colder than normal for this time of year, you are right. In fact, this week it's been warmer in the Northwest Territories than in Windsor, Essex. Brian Jacques is an avid fisherman, and he says that it's going to take temperatures cooler than these to keep him off of his boat and away from his fishing rod.
I was in shorts last week, so that really tricked us, that hot week we had. And then now I got my snow pants back out, especially yesterday with all the rain we were getting. If you're out in the wind and it's cold and you get rained on, then you get really cold quick and it kind of wrecks your day. So now I'm bringing my winter gear back out of storage.
Jacques says the fish, however, prefer the warmer water and fewer walleye have been biting this week. So what's causing this unseasonable cold weather? Well, according to Environment Canada meteorologists, it's called a cold low.
So the high is rotating this way. So it's driving the cold air down from the north, and the low is taking it in and spinning it around in the south. So we're clearly in Canadian air, cold air. At the same time, we're getting these days of rain, and it's the persistent, it's the kind of annoying kind of rain. It's not like a flooding rain all of a sudden, hey, lots of water, and then all of a sudden the storm moves away. It's like, it's overstayed its welcome. It's this kind of low that just sits there and slowly spins. We often call it the scourge of the weather office because, it spoils the weather, but not just for one day or 2 days. It could be a whole week.
The good news, Philip says, that cold low is moving out. Meanwhile, new research about sea levels suggests an urgent need to plan for the future. It says waters will rise by meters, not centimeters, and that acting today could protect millions in the decades and centuries to come. Here's CBC's meteorologist, Johanna Wagstaff.
Imagine sea levels were up here instead of down there. This isn't theoretical, it's happening. Okay, so not in a couple years, but over a couple centuries, which means now is exactly when we need to start planning. How we build our cities, how we adapt our coastlines, zoning laws, flood maps, seawalls, wetlands. This isn't abstract, it's about staying ahead of the water. Because even if we cap warming at 1.5 degrees Celsius, the oceans aren't done rising. Scientists just reran the numbers, drawing on ancient coral, sediment, fossil shorelines, and found that the last time Earth was this warm, about 125,000 years ago, sea levels were 4 to 10 meters higher. That's because ice takes time to melt, but once it starts, it's hard to stop. Greenland and Antarctica, that ice won't collapse overnight, but once they go, they don't quit. It's like tipping a jug of water. You can't freeze it mid-pour. Even conservative projections show a 1 meter sea level rise in 75 years, but it keeps going from there. Right now, about 230 million people live on land less than 1 meter above sea level. About 1 billion within 10 meters. That's 1 in 8 people on Earth. So no, your entire city isn't going underwater tomorrow, but this is coming, and we've still got time to get ready.
We'll be right back. Welcome back. It's been 3 weeks since 2 young children were reported missing in Nova Scotia, and there is still no sign of them. And now one area resident says the RCMP has asked her for hours of footage from her trail cameras. Kayla Hounsell has the latest.
The SD card goes into the bottom here.
Melissa Scott has 7 of these trail cameras set up around her property. This week, she says the RCMP showed up asking for footage dating back 5 days before Lily and Jack Sullivan were reported missing from their home.
I did mention to them that I was very happy to see them and glad that they were canvassing a little further and looking at trail cam footage. And they did respond saying that they probably should have been around earlier.
The children live in Lansdowne Station, an extremely rural area about 140 kilometers northeast of Halifax. As the crow flies, Scott's property is just over 5 kilometers from there. It's more than an 8-kilometer drive, but the 2 areas are also connected by train tracks.
They also asked our vehicles. We wanted to identify all of our vehicles so they could rule out local traffic.
The RCMP declined an interview and also refused to answer specific questions about what investigators are looking for on trail camera footage or why they're asking for video dating back 5 days before the kids were reported missing. The force says it isn't providing any further details right now to protect the integrity of its investigation. Police have said they got a 911 call from the children's mother and stepfather on May 2nd. They said 6-year-old Lily and 4-year-old Jack had wandered away from their home. It sparked an extensive search.
Obviously, we care deeply.
Volunteers are being offered support.
A lot of our members have kids of their own, so obviously that makes it more challenging.
Scott says she provided hours of video.
And I didn't see anything on it, but they're welcome to have it, and maybe they'll see something I didn't.
The case is captivating the province with so many questions and so few answers about what may have happened to Lily and Jack. Kayla Hounsell, CBC News, Pictou County, Nova Scotia.
U.S. President Donald Trump has the European Union in his crosshairs now, threatening 50% tariffs on imports in a social media post. The CBC's Aaron Collins reports from Washington.
In this U.S. president's roller coaster trade war with pretty much everyone on the planet, things seem to be picking up steam again. Donald Trump posting on social media today that he was frustrated with the trade deficit between the U.S. and the EU. The president pushing a familiar fix in that post, tariffs. Trump saying he wanted to see a 50% tariff on the 27-nation trading bloc by June 1st. Of course, this comes as the EU and U.S. are locked in trade relation negotiations. Here is the U.S. Secretary of the Treasury, Scott Bessent, speaking on Fox News today.
The president believes that the EU proposals have not been of the same quality that we've seen from our other important trading partners. Well, I'm not going to negotiate on TV, but I would hope that this would light a fire under the EU.
This kind of tariff threat starting to become a familiar part of the Trump negotiating strategy, and reaction from Europe has been swift but measured so far, perhaps picking up on the rhythm of a Trump trade negotiation. The Polish trade minister saying that some negotiations are going on behind closed doors, while others are more public, a nod to Trump's social media posts. And he went on to say that Europe has noticed that not all of the U.S. threats on trade necessarily materialize, something policy analysts in the EU have picked up on too.
I think there's significant uncertainty on whether they will happen. But one thing is clear, if they happen, it means a major, major disruption to the transatlantic economy, which is going to be very bad for the US, for US consumers, and very bad for European consumers and European producers in particular.
So analysts unsure if these tariff threats will materialize, but certain if they do, it will be damaging to both economies. And Apple has also landed in the president's crosshairs today. The president making another threat on social media early this morning. This time, Apple the target, one of the largest corporations in the world, not a country. Trump upset that more Apple products aren't built in the U.S., threatening a 25% tariff on Apple products manufactured outside America but sold here. That, of course, will likely boost the cost of those products for Americans looking to get the latest iPhone or MacBook. Aaron Collins, CBC News, Washington.
Colette Kennedy is back with us now for more on weather. Colette, we made it to the weekend forecast where we've got some sunshine to look forward to. Tell us all about it.
Yeah, things are really looking up for us. I mean, it's taken some patience and there's still a few things to get through. I'm going to break that down for you, but I want to start here with what the hurricane, yes, I'm jumping to that. You know why? June is around the corner and June 1st, the beginning of hurricane season. So this is what the outlook is for the Atlantic Basin, and that's for this coming season. It goes all the way till the end of November. So the 2025 forecast, and this is coming from Environment Canada, puts the named storms at 13 to 19. I've got the averages over here, so you can see kind of falling above average in all categories for hurricanes, so not just named storms, but actually reaching hurricane status, 6 to 10 potentially, and major hurricanes. Yeah, we're talking wind speeds that would reach 178 kilometers an hour to going over 250. If we're talking about a Category 5, potentially 3 to 5 of those. So maybe a very active season, and sometimes those can eventually have an impact on us, or the remnants of. So we'll watch that carefully. Something else we're watching are the cooler temperatures. That jet stream pattern wants to be ridging in the west, but we've still had this trough that's been in play. The warmth continues to build into the prairies, but not only there. Yeah, I'm going to take the jet stream off. I just want you to look at the colors here, getting into the oranges all the way into the Northwest Territory, and orange generally is putting us into the 20s. By the time we get to about Thursday, Yellowknife is likely going to be warmer in the mid to upper 20s than it's going to be. Look at, there's still that pool of cooler air in those green colorations than it is in the Great Lakes region. And here, this is what, when you get into the contours that are green, the temperatures look like. Some single digits of 8s and 9s, and yeah, nice to have 13 degrees for Windsor. Still some of that wraparound. This is why I can't take the risk of a shower out of the forecast tonight. Cloud cover, it's a slight chance, but it is still there as we go through the overnight. Otherwise, we'll get into some decreasing cloudiness. We will be set up for a good amount of sunshine, though. Once we get, we'll be further away from the center of that low. So once we get into the weekend, a few fair weather clouds here and there, but generally I'm putting us into sunshine, and it's looking really good, actually, Saturday into Sunday. If you're traveling elsewhere eastward in the province, though, you may see things a little bit different. The high tomorrow, 17. We're going to get into those 20s, too. In fact, we're going to have a string of days where those temperatures are back closer to seasonal, Katarina.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Colette.
You're welcome.
And thanks, everybody, for watching. Have a fabulous weekend.
Good night.